All right, everybody, welcome back to another week here of the Whiskey Gingers podcast. This time with a very special guest, Mr. Mike Reilley. Mike is somewhat of a drink connoisseur himself. Mike, can you tell the people where to check you out and where to find out about your drink preferences?
Absolutely. So my name is Mike Reilley, as Brandon just said, but I have a Instagram page called Reilley's Tasting Room, spelled exactly like my last name, Tasting Room, and do beer reviews, a bunch of drink reviews on there all the time. Posting a lot more now, and we're coming to YouTube soon. We have the YouTube channel, just my name right there, and there's gonna be a lot of drink reviews, beer reviews, breweries, and all that coming. So you can find me on Instagram and YouTube right now.
Sweet. So if you're between the bi-weekly episode of Whiskey Gingers and you find yourself unsure of what to order, Reilley's Tasting Room will be there for you in the meantime. But tonight we jump into Chris and I's favorite category. We will find out more about Mike's drink preferences as we go along. But we finally got some Irish whiskey. We've been struggling through pretty much the rest of the liquor aisle until today.
Yeah, this comes down to something we've been talking about a lot. Definitely a favorite amongst us, and I'm pretty sure Mike is also a big fan of the Irish whiskey.
I think any whiskey's on my end, but
but yeah, we finally cracked on it. This is a whiskey that I'm actually pretty sure that I did have when I visited Ireland. It's called Writer's Tears. So hopefully I'm right on that. If I happen to be right on that, that's going to be awesome. If not, it should still be a pretty good whiskey. As like most good, if not all Irish whiskeys, it is triple distilled, which is kind of like a trademark of Irish whiskey.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to give it a try. And I think, Mike, you also have an Irish whiskey tonight. Would you like to tell everybody what you got there?
I do. I have the Knot. It is an Irish whiskey. It is from Bailey Borough County in Ireland, which is like northern. I had to look that up. Didn't know that off the top of my head, but but I did know it's from Ireland, as it stated on there. So I'm looking forward to giving this one a try. Had to do the Irish whiskey if I'm coming on here.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Yeah, Bailey Borough County. Usually in here it's one borough or a county or a town, but
You
in
get
Ireland
both
you
there.
can do both.
You can get all three if you get lucky.
They double distill their towns too.
Triple distilled their towns. This one is also from the Writer Tears, is from Carlow, Ireland, just to give everybody a heads up on that one. I think that this is a pretty popular pick, but I saw it on the shelf and I haven't had it presumably since I went to Ireland, so I wanted to give it a try.
And now we're all going to sit back, relax, and watch Chris attempt to open a bottle of whiskey.
No, this one's actually going to be really easy. They make it easy for you on good whiskey. I like to take like the whole top of this off, though.
Wait for it. Oh, I should have put the mic up to it.
I do that every time. Should we do?
Could have been on those like ASMR channels.
It's not as good the second time.
That's one of the favorite sounds, you know.
Yeah, exactly. That and cracking a beer open are two staples.
Exactly. You can find the beer on my channel. We're just taking whiskey on here right now.
You got something for everybody in this put together. So we're gonna put a little bit in here.
I might be drinking a Budweiser off camera.
It's over here. Can't show you guys that.
Yeah, no free marketing, as if Budweiser needs it.
Yeah. All right.
So
we got.
You guys want me?
All right, let's see how Mike can.
Yeah, why don't you open yours up as professionally as we did?
Mine is twist off a little bit easier than that, but I did want to note something on the back of here. It was actually pretty funny, and this is one of the reasons why I got this. On top of being an Irish whiskey, it says it's like a little pretty much paragraph saying I don't know if you could really tell that.
Yeah, that's pretty small print there, Mike.
Yeah, read it. It says, by cracking the seal of the knot, you accept by drinking is never taken lightly and promise to act in a responsible fashion. This does not let you mix with other alcohol. You should drink this straight up. So, I mean, as you should with whiskey, they're telling you right then and there.
I agree.
Felt like it was a necessity for this one. So
yeah, none of that whiskey ginger bullshit, right?
Yeah. Mine was a little bit easier.
Yeah. Nice. And are you going to go with rocks or no rocks tonight?
You know, I had to show off what I got. I'm doing no rocks.
Nice. I love it. I'm also going no rocks. I think Brandon's going
I'll represent
rocks.
the rocks crowd.
All right.
Tell you what, anybody who had the pee coming in this episode is not going to be doing great with the pouring sounds.
There's some really good ASMR coming out of this.
Group says no rocks, by the way.
Well, cheers, gentlemen. Let's enjoy this.
Cheers.
It's just so much better.
Oh, yes, it is.
It's so much better.
It's like night and day.
Mine has a little bit of kick to it.
I saw that double take on your end. I figured as much.
This one is a 46% alcohol by volume on this bottle. So, like, it should have a little bit more of a kick than your traditional, but it actually is pretty smooth.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah, this is
Almost
a
refreshing.
50%, 100 proof.
Yeah, we just did
didn't
one of
really
those.
realize that when I got it, but we have to play with it now, you know.
Yeah, there you go.
That was a French one, right? That was real high?
No. It was the one that my cousin gave me. That was the bottle 29
Oh,
120. Right. I think that was 55%. That one. That was a little rough.
That's still one of the cooler whiskeys I think we'll get to do.
Exactly. I think that we're going to start. We've already talked about it, and we'll bring it in later in the show here. But we talked about starting to keep an official tally of where all of these whiskeys wind up on our list, because we've been a little bit loose about our ranking system here. I feel like we've strayed away. So we're definitely going to rank everything in the end. This one's definitely a top contender, no surprise there. And we might be biased on that, but
for me, this one and Wiggle are battling for the top spot.
Definitely. And Wiggle was a bourbon, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah,
for our flavor palette.
See, I think with me, this is top in mine. This is top one right here.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to be in for another one, but this is my top at the moment.
And then I think that's fair. We'll have to funnel you some of the stuff we've already had, so that way you can catch up.
So while it's fresh on the palate, we'll get into our let's drink about it after. But so you already said this one's probably your top, or is it okay? Another sip will determine it.
That we've reviewed on the show, I would 100% say this is number one.
I kind of agree.
By far. That we reviewed on the show. Is this by far the best whiskey that I've ever had in my life? That would be really bold to claim that.
Yeah.
But no, this is solid. I would drink this as a sipper any day of the week. If this was, in my liquor cabinet, which it's going to be, I would definitely be inclined to take a sip from this every now and again.
Yeah. This whole show is really just a front for Chris to buy more alcohol and avoid AA.
Hey,
and it's all
that's why I do mine too. It's another excuse to drink.
Exactly. Yeah. When you get these business expenses, you gotta write them off somehow. So this whiskey shelf has got to get bigger. I can't supply it on just me wanting to get alcohol. It has to have a reason behind it, right?
I think I know a couple guys that build furniture.
Yeah. I have no idea what that's like.
I would agree.
I might need one of them over here too. Nice whiskey shelf for myself.
Yeah, we'll get you started. You'll start your ranking system, and you could just put little Post-it notes on which one you think is number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Sounds good to me. Give me a couple weeks, I'll be back, and I'll tell you what I'm feeling.
Exactly. What do you got going on yours, Mike? What do you think? It's like a pretty good whiskey, like as far as that you've had overall. I know this is the only one that you've had on the show because it's your first time here, but you think it's like overall pretty good? Do you think you'd have it again? I
think it's overall really good. It is. At first hand has like a little bite to it, but in the back end goes down pretty smooth. It feels a little thicker going down. It feels like a little thicker than I feel like normal like whiskey would be. But all in all, I think it's pretty good. Yeah, I think you're a little bit on the darker end than what we got going on here. Sure. Ours is pretty light. Yeah. For sure. Yeah, definitely a little darker than that.
A little more viscous.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad that you're enjoying it. I'm definitely enjoying mine.
So we agree on our number ones. Number 2 for me would probably be the Wiggle whiskey.
I'd agree. 100%.
I'm obviously a little bit biased because it was my discovery in Pittsburgh, but I also just really enjoyed the whiskey. So that's probably my number 2 for sure.
Is that? I mean, I know you guys have done a podcast on that. Is that something that is from around here? Or is that another Irish one or from a specific area?
So Wiggle is based in Pittsburgh. It's more of like bourbon, but it's like an award-winning kind of small batch distillery. So they only have one distillery, only in Pittsburgh. You can't really get it outside the city too much. I just happened to be there and I picked up one of their 2019 award-winning bottles.
It was
Okay,
actually
nice.
delicious. Very good. I agree. That should definitely be number
Yeah.
2 on our list. It's hard because I think the wow factor and how absolutely cool it is for that bottle that we got from my cousin that was that 29 of 129 or whatever. That's an amazing bottle of whiskey. I mean, that's something that you really put up and you hardly ever drink. I've had that for a while at this point now, and it's still easily got half the bottle in there.
So I think because it burns like hell.
And partially because it's uncomfortable to drink more than one glass at a time. But I think that one for me it's kind of like I'm almost, in a weird way, I'm tied between Wiggle and that for like the pure thought that goes behind it. But I do think that the Wiggle was a better whiskey overall. Yeah. And then definitely down at the bottom, I'm looking at the Bastille French whiskey that we tried, because that
sucked.
Unsurprisingly, I didn't have high expectations going into it, because I know that's not necessarily like the French's thing. But I was like,
you got to do some wine with that one.
Yeah. I was like, well, let's give it a shot. How bad could it be? And, I want to say it was that bad, but
it wasn't that good.
It wasn't that good. We wound up in the end, would we try mixing it a little bit, didn't we? And we said it was a little bit better. I think that might have been after the show. I don't remember if we did that while we were
mix
on
it
the
off
show.
camera. But we can't do it on camera. We have a reputation to uphold here.
Yeah, exactly.
You got to stick to the rocks or nothing.
Exactly. But while we're kind of on the topic of the French, one of our conversation questions tonight on Let's Drink About It was, what is the classier drink? Because you can get a really fine whiskey at a nice event and it looks really classy, or, wine is always thought to be like that event drink or that nice dinner drink. So I'll kick it over to you, Mike. Like, what if you see somebody drinking like a really top shelf whiskey or a really top shelf wine? Which one are you more impressed by?
Well, that's kind of a hard question. I think it depends where you are, actually. But I think that whiskey is classier because there's so much different variety and taste that goes into that. I mean, vaguely the same with wine, but you can get, I feel like there's smaller locations of like whiskey makers than like wine. Like wine you can get in a lot of like California and all over worldwide, where like your top-notch whiskeys are in one specific location, and not one specific, but in a better location. So I think if you're getting really good stuff, it's coming from around there. So I think it's easier to guide up. I don't know if that really makes sense, but I think it kind of all comes from one location.
No, I think that makes a lot more sense to me. I mean, like I've not that we've always joked about this, not that we're experts on this by any means, because we're not. We're just, homemade connoisseurs, but I've always had a little bit more of an appreciation when it comes to whiskey, definitely, than when it comes to wine. So when you're thinking about the whole wine situation, for me, I really can't weigh in on it too much. I do enjoy a nice glass of wine, especially when I'm out to dinner. Sometimes it is nice to do. But equally as so, I'd love to have a nice glass of whiskey at dinner as well. It's just typically a nice glass of whiskey is going to run you a lot more than a nice glass of wine as the restaurant. So sometimes that makes your decision for you.
Yeah, and I think there's obviously levels to nice. And the reason I put this in here is that I've had like a really close experience with both, being that I lived in Italy for 6 months. And while I was there, I got to travel to Dublin, which I know you've also been. And I agree. I mean, I think a fine wine is classier than a fine whiskey, which I know kind of goes against the whole theme of the podcast, but we're here to be objective. But there's nothing about a fine wine that makes me feel the way a fine whiskey does. Like when we opened that bottle of like 29 of like 100 bottle whatever whiskey, like I felt like privileged to be drinking that. No matter how expensive or how nice of the bottle of wine, I know that it's like in some capacity mass produced, so it doesn't quite hold up as well as a small batch, elite bottle of whiskey will. If that makes any sense.
Don't mind the cat intruding on the street.
Someone said wine and whiskey. I'm coming in. No, I definitely agree with that. But from like, I guess a little bit that kind of opens up the conversation too, is like you can get like, I feel like a fine whiskey is better to have, because if you get like a cheap whiskey, no one's really want to drink that. But like you could also get a like cheap wine that everybody compares, like, oh, you can get a $20 bottle of wine or $150 bottle of wine, and most people won't taste the difference. But if you get like a high class whiskey or a low class whiskey, like that could be a big deciding factor too. Like you could taste the difference with that.
Mike, have you had boxed wine?
I've pounded a lot of boxes of wine before.
That is not for human consumption. I've had some bad whiskey. I've never had whiskey as bad as a box of wine.
I guess beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
There's people that adamantly drink
Yeah.
boxed wine as like their go-to thing. I mean, there's also people that drink light beer as their go-to thing. So shots fired on that one.
I mean, look, I think light beer and boxed wine are completely different. Light beer, you're either balling on a budget or you're drinking casually. If you're picking out a box of wine to pull from on your own, you either just got out of jail or are heading to jail.
Or that's a cheap date right there.
Yeah.
That's either a cheap date or a date you're paying for.
And I guess you don't have to worry about them sticking around if they're on their way to jail. It's a one and done kind of deal.
True. And then I guess kind of keep it on the theme of where you drink these things, and drinking in jail or drink on the street or whatever we're just talking about.
Drinking in jail, yeah.
There are
toilet wine.
That's a different kind of wine. There's kind of a split anymore where people prefer drinking at home versus drinking at a bar, especially being that we're kind of in the age of like the pregame. And I had friends in college who preferred the pregame to the actual trip to the bar or the night out. I know where I land. I'm not quite sure where Chris lands, but I'm interested. Like, Mike, would you rather have a case of beer at a buddy's place, or would you rather go out to the bar?
Oh, well, I think I'm a big. I'm gonna have fun. I'll start off with this. I'll have fun no matter where I go. But if I don't know, if someone's like, yo, like we're going to get crazy this weekend, the first thing that goes to my head, and if someone says we're getting crazy, where do you want to go? I'm not going to say someone's house. I have to say I'm going out. Either big bar, big club, something like that. I just love the atmosphere around.
All right. We might be 3 for 3. I'm curious to see where Chris goes, because I think Mike and I are in agreement here.
Maybe. I think Mike wouldn't be too surprised to hear what my opinion is on the matter. I guess it depends on the people and the company for sure. But I think that overall, I actually do like to drink at home or at a friend's house better than I like to drink at a bar. But we have a fight breaking out between the cat and dog. But
there's a cat.
They want to go out.
Can't see on screen. Ow!
This is the call. No, sorry. I'm going down now.
The cat wants to go out to the club. That's why they're trying to fight in the house.
I think the cat's trying to say clubbing is where we need to be. It's absolute chaos in here. All I'm saying is if I go to somebody's house and this is the chaos that's going on, I'd rather be at the house than at the bar.
Yeah.
No, but in all seriousness, going to the bar is really fun. I think it has to be whether you go celebrate, like hang out at somebody's house, or you're doing it at a bar. Like it definitely has to be with the right people. And I don't know, like I guess my thought is that you could always have a lot more fun spending way less money at a house party than you can going out to the bar. But then again, like people get drunk and they buy you drinks and stuff. So I guess maybe that's not true. Who knows? I don't know. Mike always knew me as somebody who'd probably prefer a house party than going out to a bar, but we did. For context, Mike and I have known each other for a long time.
We've done both.
Yeah. I mean, they both obviously have their merit. Like if you're gonna have like upwards of 10 people, I'd rather have a house party, because if you go to the bar with 10 or more people, you're probably gonna talk to 1 or 2 of them. You're gonna lose 3 or 4. Like, the whole operation is going to fall apart eventually. But if it's 5, 6 people, like, you guys are talking like, oh, let's go get crazy. Like, had a long week. Let's go get drunk. Bar's way more fun. One, you meet the people of the bar, which I think is my favorite part. Like, I'll talk to strangers at the bar all day long because they're some of the most fascinating people. But again, it depends on the situation. If you have a ton of people coming over, like, a Halloween party, for instance, at somebody's house. Friday night, I'd rather go to the bar.
I think it also has to do with like if there's an event going on. Like we just went to that Oktoberfest in Phoenixville over here,
True.
and that was awesome. That was a blast. We had
Or
a
live
really fun
music.
time.
That'll get me
yeah,
in the door.
good live music. Like that's always a good thing. And any event's good. Like Mike, you and I went to countless SantaCons and stuff like that. That's the kind of stuff that'll get me out to a bar. Is some type of event that is happening other than like the normal everyday weekly events.
True.
Because if it's a normal weekly everyday event, then my justification is I can go anytime I want. But like if it's an event, then it'll actually bring me out. So
True.
but no, that's my stance.
And this one wasn't on any of the banners, but it's just an interesting follow-up now that I'm getting a deeper peek into Chris before I know him.
Oh God.
Let's say there's nothing special about it. It's a Friday night. You have like 4 guys going out. Dive bar or dance bar?
Ooh, I think it just depends what you want to do, and who like. It depends who's going out. If you're trying to go out and get some girls, do that. Definitely going to get dance bar, doing all that. But like, if you're just literally trying to chill, hang out, and all that, pounding, dive bars, hella fun. Always usually have live music, good music in general, or something. Just messing around and you can get trashed. So I think it just depends the vibe. I feel like in my life, I've been more dance bars and stuff with all that being right down here on the Jersey Shore over here. But I'll take either or. But
yeah,
dirty Jersey.
Gotta love it.
I definitely lean dive bar a little bit. But I went to college out in the sticks, so we had 2 bars. They were both dive bars. You could smoke cigs inside. It was like $2 drafts, $3 mixed drinks. Like, I just fell in love with that because I could get blackout drunk for about $12. They had a jukebox, so like we just turned it into a dance bar. Like we would just occupy the jukebox as soon as the old timers left, and we would just play like the most like. I love country music. We play the most like hick country music we could all sing along to, and we just turned it into like a honky tonk for ourselves.
Dive bar turn dance bar.
Yeah, like
maybe that's the solution. You don't need.
If somebody comes up with that, if you do, I'm telling you, if you did a dance bar with like $2 drafts and $4 wells, you would be rolling it.
Yeah, it'd be pretty dangerous,
easy.
honestly.
That's my whole beef with the dance bar. Like, I mean, I love going to the point, and like my buddies and I would go to Martell's probably 2 or 3 times a year, and it's awesome. But I could go on vacation for what my bar tab is.
Yeah. You're paying $10 for a Bud Light or something. It's crazy.
God forbid you go to like AC
and
start trying to get drinks.
If you go to AC, hopefully you're winning some money. But
exactly. I remember the whole thing that stopped me from drinking at clubs and AC was I was at the pool after dark at Harrah's, and I remember walking up to get a drink there, and we had like pre-gamed a little bit in the room, but I really this was one of my first experiences going out to clubs in AC, and I pre-gamed not enough. That was basically my takeaway. It was like definitely didn't pre-game enough because when I saw my first bill for getting a drink, I got a mixed drink and a Bud Light, and I handed the lady a 20, expecting change. Which at a normal bar, I definitely would have gotten change.
Yeah,
she in a decent amount.
Than this cup, but that was insane. So it wound up being like closer to $30 for to get that mixed drink and that beer. I said, okay, one drink at the club, and everything else is pregame.
Yeah,
that's all you need. You need one drink to keep you alive while you're there. Screw it, I'll like go back to the room and come back. That's ridiculous.
AC,
that's when you get the aluminum cans. You just hold the can the whole night, pretend like you're drinking.
Exactly. I went like back in July with a couple buddies, and one of them, hey, he has some new money, and he kind of wanted to flex a little bit. So we got a table at a nightclub. You guys want to take a wild guess what a bottle of Patron runs you in a club in Atlantic City?
I'm sure like $500.
$450.
Yeah.
$450 for a bottle of Patron. It is highway robbery.
That makes sense to me.
But one thing you see a ton of in New Jersey and in Atlantic City are Italians.
Those damn Italians.
Those damn Italians. So to close it out, we are debating the age-old Italian debate. Is it sauce or are you wrong?
Hey, if I'm starting this off again,
yeah, go
it's
for it,
sauce.
please.
It's sauce. It's always been sauce, and I
Always be
don't
sauce.
even. Yeah, I don't know where this gravy came from. I don't know. I've never heard of it. Half Irish, half Italian. Never heard anyone say gravy besides Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah. It has its own holiday. It doesn't need every Sunday in eternity. Let that be sauce.
No, I agree. I mean, Mike, both our moms are Italian, so it's like,
Yeah.
I think we're hitting pretty close, like 100% Italian, just for the record to show. Like, it's always been sauce in my house. I get where the gravy thing comes from, and it typically stems from like Sicilian culture, which our off-screen producer did some research, aka my wife, did some research for us and found out that it seems like it might have all started. And I mean, I'm not a historian,
Yeah.
so we're just going off the internet right now.
Morgan is though.
Morgan is a historian, so but basically the whole issue is that it didn't translate properly. So like the word for sauce in Italy translates from sauce to sauce. But apparently another thing that you can call like gravy would be like ragu. And when ragu is translated, it was basically like translated to gravy. It was like a meat sauce gravy thing. And that's how it like got mistranslated. So I'm probably not doing it justice, but the reality of the matter is sauce from Italy translated to English is sauce.
It's still
So that's my stance on it. That's how I'll always be on it. I also don't get where the Sicilians come out and start adding G's to shit that don't have G's in it. It's not calamari, it's calamari. Like, let's get that real straight here. If you walk into a real Italian place and you order calamari, they're gonna throw you out.
I just want to make it abundantly clear that is Chris's opinion and not mine. If the Sicilian mob is listening, please leave me out of this. Also, I think about half of our listeners just fell out of their chairs finding out that Chris is predominantly Italian.
Yeah, that probably is a little bit of a shock.
Mike is believable. With the leprechaun to my left, you would not think it's
Yeah.
Italian.
I got blonde hair underneath here. I mean, not that helps my
That's
case.
not Italian.
Put that back on. You're not helping your case right now.
There's blondes in northern Italy, so I don't know.
There's a lot more of them in Germany. Predominantly, actually.
I am German too, so that's
Look back to history.
it's probably where that's from. Is that like not the most ridiculous thing as well? By the way, like, well, I mean, like, we're definitely running on, but like,
I mean, which way are you taking this now? Because we're talking about Germany.
Not in that
we only have
direction.
2 minutes, you Chris.
Not in my direction. Not in that direction. So I think the funniest thing is like Americans are the only people really that I know of. I mean, I could be wrong. That are like, yeah, I'm Italian, I'm Irish, I'm German, like all these different things. Like, yeah, so I'm American first, but everybody's like very proud of their lineage of where they came from. And I guess it's because it was, you know, in a world not so long ago where their ancestors did come over, as were like a lot of these people that are like actually Italian living in Italy. Their ancestors have probably been living in Italy for, you know, thousands of years. So it's a little bit different.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're a country of immigrants. Like,
Exactly.
no one originated. I mean, not no one, but like the people who are loudest about it didn't originate here. You don't hear too many Native Americans like flying their own flag on the beach.
That is fair.
Whereas if you go to like North Wildwood, it's like all Italian flags or Delco flags.
So you go to Belmar, all you see is Italian flags right there.
My God.
As if it wasn't already abundantly clear when you walked into or out of Belmar.
Yeah. Right. If you look at DJs, that's Little Italy right there.
Little Italy. Oh my gosh.
That's a disservice to Little Italy.
That's awesome.
I've seen things in DJs that make Italians do one of these.
Well, I think we pretty much touched on everything that's going to get us killed as far as our gravy sauce situation here. We still have it up on the screen, so in case anybody wants to remember.
Well, I know
that's
we've had
what we
some
talked
commentary from some of our listeners debating our decisions here, and it will be sauce until somebody comes onto this podcast and convinces me otherwise.
I want a real reason besides their grandmother calls it gravy. I think that's my point here. Like the sauce thing, anybody that has the stance of sauce, there's kind of like historical backing to that.
Yeah.
The fact that anybody calls it gravy, like gravy is a meat byproduct when you're cooking it. Like, yes, it's delicious. I fucking love gravy, but red sauce is not gravy. It's not red gravy. And
Yeah.
like even in that context, they don't call it red gravy; they just call it gravy. To me, it's a little bit lazy, and I'm gonna start making myself sound real like an
Yeah.
asshole. But like I think
You
it's
hear that,
lazy.
Grandma? Chris called you lazy.
Yeah, come on, Grandma. What the heck?
I just want to point something out that in this article that I was reading, this gentleman said that it is rumored that only certain areas started calling it gravy because gravy was referred to the sauce that contains the meat, like the ragouts or the bolognese, stuff like that. However, for example, many people will comment that it's a Jersey thing.
Of course it is.
So, hearing it from all over the U.S., people that use it, it makes it very hard to pinpoint the exact region of where saying gravy came from.
What's not a Jersey thing?
Next episode, we debate what's more annoying, Jeep owners or people from New Jersey?
You also happen to own a lot of Jeeps, by the way.
Y'all are the same. Anything you can't explain is, oh, it's a Jersey thing. No, it's ridiculous.
I think I'm justifiably allowed to have my own opinion on it, considering I'm a former Jersey resident.
I know. Don't remind me.
Have you lost some Jersey things now that you moved?
Believe it or not, I definitely have. Like, I've noticed there's some accent things that come through that I'm not proud of.
Yeah,
like there's
phone,
certain
home.
so there's a big emphasis on certain O words out here. I'm not really sure where it started coming from, but like you start saying instead of phone, it's phone. Like it like comes out weird. I don't know how to describe it. Brandon does it passively. It takes me like I have to think about not doing it. And sometimes it just slips through.
It's like 2 or 3 O's where like you would just have one like it's probably just like home, but for here it's home.
But we can all agree that no matter where you're from, even if you're from PA, the Delco accent is ridiculous.
It's not ridiculous. It's uneducated.
It's equally as bad as the accent you hear on the Jersey Shortcast. Like it's equally as bad as that. And they're
me when I go out. No.
Yeah.
No,
Cabsy.
That's a South Philly accent. Yeah. Let me get a nice hoagie at the Wawa. And like it sounds terrible. Like I was listening to this is what we'll close on. I was listening to like a great comedic bit about Wawa and why it's so big in Delco. And it's because everybody, when you go into Wawa, you're too drunk to put a sentence together. So they made their name a sound. So you can get into an Uber and go, take me to Wawa, and then they'll take you where you want to go.
That's fair.
Hey, I've been in the Uber's home and I could probably only say Wawa, so I understand that. But
it's brilliant marketing.
It is actually not bad. Yeah.
Thanks again for joining us tonight, Mike. Before we wrap it up, just want to remind people where they can track you down for your own videos and social media posts.
Yeah, give yourself another shameless plug. Go for it.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for having me. I had a blast and got to try some good whiskey that I probably wouldn't have got before. We need to stop by and try yours next, but that's soon enough. But again, you can find me at Reilley's_tasting room on Instagram, or you could look me up on YouTube, just Mike Reilley. I'll have videos up all the time and on both platforms. So I'm going to have a lot more coming soon, and hope you guys check them out.
All right, you heard the man. Go check out the pages. Mike, thanks again for having us on. And we will be back in 2 weeks with another episode of the Whiskey Gingers podcast. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.
Thanks, guys.